Hey, welcome back. I'm LuminousRah, and today we're going to dive into some serious discussions. But before we do, we're going to go ahead and set the mood, clear the energies, and dive right in. Hopefully you all are feeling well. I had time to refresh, replenish, take a little break. I'm so excited to jump into this topic because after last conversation about the micro red flags in men that we had, you all left a lot of comments under that one, and I can't wait to jump in. A lot of you all were asking for a part 2 in relation to red flags women hold that tend to put us in situations we typically don't want to be in. These may not be obvious red flags. This just might be your lifestyle right now or a way of life you're living and you don't know it's hindering you in this way. It's not the blatant red flags that we see, like he cheated and I stayed, he disrespected me and I stayed, or I saw a whole slew of red flags in him and we still had a baby or we still got married. It's not that. Those are really big red flags. We're trying to catch it before we lead into those. This one is for those of us that find ourselves in repeating cycles. You don't know how you keep choosing the wrong partners or ending up in situations that don't necessarily pan out the way you'd like them to pan out. If we're going to talk about men's red flags, then we absolutely have to discuss how we participate in those red flags. Let's go ahead and dive in. I'm so excited to get into this discussion. This one is tricky because on the surface, it seems as though it's the right way to go about living this experience. And I find even if you're a strong type of persona or character, you still fall into this category. You're only abrasive or mean or off-putting when you're dealing with men that you tend to not like, if we're gonna be honest. But you absolutely mold into the passive femininity role when you find someone or you align to someone that you do like and you favor and you're excited about. These are the people when you get that rise in the butterflies and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about him and I can't wait till he calls. You're not even forcing yourself to think in that manner, but you find yourself obsessing over the ones that you really like. So this is gonna help us organize this when we get into that energy, right? It's something to keep in mind because oftentimes we feel like being agreeable is the way to go, or being kind, or being quiet, or showing up is not too much. And we think that's the way that we should operate because that signals us as being a good woman. But sometimes that energy feels very similar to the good guy trope. You know how there's that saying, good guys always finish last? Well, I don't think it's too far off to say that the good girls finish last as well. So when we navigate this space and we start to reevaluate how we show up and really look at ourselves when we're excited about someone. Oftentimes we think showing up the right way is by stopping ourselves in our tracks and saying, okay, I'm not gonna show up like this. Let me stop trying to text him. Let me stop checking my phone. But really, the secret lies in balancing your nervous system, being calm, being relaxed, and finding something else that fuels you that you can do, whether it's a hobby or something like that. And that's important mainly if you sit with yourself in this energy and you show up as the good girl, you show up as doing everything that you think is going to lead him into thinking that you're a wife or wife you up or spend forever with you because you're agreeable, so on and so forth. If you get caught up in that energy, you're gonna find that you compare yourself to others if it doesn't work out. If he doesn't choose you, or if he's not serious about you, or whatever may happen, if it blows up in your face, you're gonna start thinking, why does she get the guy? Why do the bad girls always get chosen? Why do the promiscuous ones get wifed up? I'm being good. I'm showing up good. And I just want to be so honest with you. And it's going to sound so crazy, I know, but I just got to lay the truth down for you. No one likes a pushover. Pushovers are good for ego. Pushovers are good for free therapy sessions. They're even good for trauma dumping, but they're not respected. You can't show up inauthentic to yourself and be a very bland version of yourself to show up as the good girl, you have to have some sort of balance. You have to have some sort of contrast to you, because that's what guides people to you. When you put on the false mask of good girl, you are drawing in those who have the false mask of good guy, or they want to represent themselves as something, or maybe they see you as the easy target, and you draw these characters into you because you're not showing up authentic to you. You're showing up in alignment to what you're bringing to you. So the best way to bring in the best version of the alignment of the type of person you want to connect to is to be authentically yourself, but also have love for self as well. Because when you don't have the love and respect that you need for self, you end up becoming a dumping ground. People come in and they drop all their emotions on you, relate to you in ways that has a lot to do with their trauma. They want to lay on your chest. They want to pillow talk. They want to talk about the things that they've been through. And then they feel great after they've done that and after they've gotten what they wanted from you, right? And then they leave and they show up in a better energy for another woman. In this energy, what I had to personally realize for myself was, if I keep operating as the healer or the mother, I'm always going to draw in the child and the broken. So at that point, I have to recalibrate my position in order to draw in what's more aligned with where I am. When you find yourself holding a lot of pride in being a healer, oh, I heal his nervous system, I relax him, I do this, I'm all of these things for him, you're more likely to feel used and abused once he picks up and he goes and he's with the woman he wants to present his best to. They don't want to be seen as broken when they're with the woman that they want to be with. They want to seem capable. They want to seem strong. They want to seem put together. And that's how a lot of people want to be seen. Once you release yourself from being the burden of always being the caretaker, the homemaker, the employee, once you step into that divine feminine, you'll reposition yourself into another energy of alignment. If you play it small, if you're doing this sad story, you're gonna draw in a version of people you don't necessarily want to align to, or you feel good in the moment because they need you. But eventually, when they decide they don't need you anymore, you're left trying to hold on to them and pull them back and make them feel guilty for using you and leaving, but they don't feel guilty for using you and leaving. You showed up as the healer, and that's what they got. They got healing. Most people, especially those who value strength, are attracted to someone who believes in themselves, not someone who always folds. If you find yourself in this energy, you might be thinking to yourself, well, then I have to be a bad girl. And usually I will advise you to go far on the other side, because you need to understand where the balance is. You have to start understanding where the middle is. And in order to understand where the middle is, if you're in a certain vibration and you're on one pole and you need to get to the middle, you don't just go straight to the middle. It's just like a pendulum. So you're gonna swing all the way to the opposite side, to the opposite pole. If you think with a pendulum, once you go to that side, you don't automatically know the middle. You're gonna keep swinging until you find your middle, until you find how you should show up in this energy, being kind, being respected, but also having that edge that you need in order to put your foot down and stand up for yourself. Because you need that edge in order to say, you know what? I'm not tolerating that, right? You don't necessarily have to tell a person that you tolerate what they're doing or you don't tolerate what they're doing. Whether you stay and accept it, that is your level of respect. You're not gonna waver on your boundaries. You're not gonna waver on how you show up. If you know you don't wanna be bothered with certain things, if you know you're not getting the support that you need, you don't mind walking away. I feel like a lot of people on earth, okay, this is in every single country, they value staying in a rugged, ragged, and sometimes abusive relationship just to keep up with the Joneses, just to look like you have it all together and you have it figured out. Because if you reach a certain level in relationship in life, then you have everything figured out and then you get your respect. A lot of people don't understand It's best to leave a person long before any chaos happens. It's best to learn how to navigate the space of knowing who you're aligning with and making sure someone is in alignment with you. And sometimes someone can be in alignment when you first meet them. A lot of relationship aspects, it doesn't matter whether it's romantic, family, friendships, coworkers, it doesn't really matter the type of relationship, but we see it a lot in romantic relationships because we feel like we need to stick to this person. But a lot of us aren't going to work the same job for the rest of our lives. So we're not going to have the same set of coworkers or bosses, managers. Same thing with relationships. We're not going to stay in every relationship for a long time. And if we really take our time, then there's not a lot of guilt there. You know what I mean? So if you know you didn't rush into romantic ventures with this person and you really took your time before you got there, there won't be a lot of regret when going through the process, right? Because you realize once you made it to a certain point, oh, this is probably not going to work out. We don't have the same values in this area, or we don't have the same morality in this area, or we don't have similar characters. Our foundation isn't the same. And I honestly feel like that's why you should wait. But I know everybody is grown and people give in to their sexual urges. At the same time, it's time to start having self-control and accountability there too, because you want to have a clear mind before you fully get in there. A lot of people aren't used to being able to have pleasure and not have connection. A lot of people connect pleasure and connection together. They're not able to compartmentalize. And then there's the aspect of spiritual influence when it comes to intimacy with people. And I also have a conversation on that as well if you guys want to check it out. Realizing who you are and how you show up, what your belief systems are and how they're serving you will help you realize what your own red flags are and why you choose the partners that you choose. So when you dedicate yourself to a certain characteristic, you realize you're choosing a position. And that particular position of the good girl trope is the position to be used. Because if you think about the men that are drawn to women that are quiet, who don't push back, who do all of the housework, cooking and cleaning, who are a bland version of their original self, think about who and what that attracts. Think about what you've seen on the internet and who says what they like, and then how they turn out going after the person they really wanted, right? Because that person is more free in who they are. Whether their character is shot or not, they're willing to show up how they want to show up. They take more risk in being who they are. They may not be authentic completely with themselves, but they know that they don't want to be the good girl and they're going down a different path. We also notice that those type of women don't typically put anyone else first. They typically put themselves first. So when you look at your position as the good girl, you typically put other people before you when you need to start putting you before everyone else. You're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so selfish. Babes, remember that pendulum? You gotta move from selflessness to selfishness. You gotta swing back and forth until you find your middle. Because the way you're positioning yourself now, you're always gonna put yourself second. So don't be surprised when somebody puts you in second place. If you present like a tyrant, don't be surprised when no one feels safe around you and they don't trust you. Your self-respect literally has a frequency. So understand, as you start to learn and navigate this path of learning what your self-respect looks like, you won't be in that pendulum swing for long. It won't be extreme for long. You will naturally find your medium. So how do we move forward? Well, first, to move forward, you can't be scared to step out on that ledge. You can't be scared to want to figure out who that person is and do things opposite of what you would naturally do. A lot of people say this in quantum leaping. If you want to change your environment, you can't be scared of the environment to be changed, and you have to do something that's not necessarily what you naturally would do, how you would naturally respond, how you would naturally move. I know there's a lot of information that's telling women never walk up to a man, never initiate the first date. Sometimes in order to figure out who you are as a person, you have to show up on all sides of each equation. Okay, so there's going to be a time where you do need to have that confidence. You do need to say the thing. I'm not saying be desperate and throw yourself at people, but if there's a situation and there's a person that you like, you can say something cute. You can say something slick just to catch their eye, just to let them know you're in their space, because that's something that you normally wouldn't do. And that's going to help train you gain confidence. So when people do address you or you find yourself really liking someone, you're more grounded and calm when that happens because you've already pushed yourself past your own comfort zone. Also, having boundaries. You have to learn how to see the value in your time, even when you're in downtime, and making sure that you implement your boundaries. You don't have to force other people to respect your boundaries. If they don't respect what you're putting out without over explaining what you're doing, then you just understand how much they respect you. And you get to decide whether they continue to stay in your life or not. You get to decide whether you want them to move further away from you and whether they don't have as much access to you. If someone disrespects you, it's not telling you that you're not worthy of being respected. It's telling you they don't have any respect even for themselves. So when it comes to not allowing people to step over your boundaries and making sure that they respect it, it's really not about them. It's about how you end up dealing with the situation. And you don't really have to explain anything to anyone. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, you know what? Maybe they just don't understand, and I will go ahead and give them a little bit of insight. Make sure you stand your ground on that. So it doesn't matter how they respond after that conversation. You understand, okay, this person doesn't respect what I'm saying. I'm not gonna get mad about that. I just understand I need to move in this direction and they can't come with me. Just understand, sometimes people are gonna push back and that's totally normal. There's nothing that you need to do if they push back. It's just more information for you to understand how to move going forward. If you rely on someone for structure, safety, foundation, it's time to go ahead and start gaining independence in those areas. You have to learn how to rely on yourself. I want you to remember that power is only power when no one can wager what you need. When it comes to men, they want to feel needed, and I've said this plenty of times before, they want to feel used, but they want to feel used in a way where they know they can accomplish whatever it is that you need help with. But you don't necessarily need that particular man to help you. You could either call someone else to help you, or you can pay someone else to get the job done. Once you see that person isn't willing or isn't able or isn't capable of doing it, don't feel bad for them. Don't soothe them in their ego. You can say something along the lines of, thank you for letting me know. I'm just gonna go ahead and let you go. Let me go ahead and figure out what's gonna be done about this situation. And if they say, wait, hold on, no. I gotta get this done. I gotta let you go. I'll catch you later. That is staying on your boundaries without being nasty, without having that air of belittling someone and looking down on them. Just understanding your position. Oh, you're not able to do it? Okay, that's fine. Let me let you go. Let me go ahead and find somebody that is. There's no sweet talk conversation. Oh yeah, so how's the rest of your day? The second that someone shows you they're not capable, responsible, or willing to do something that you need them to do, or you want them to do, it doesn't even need to be a need. It's a want as well. It's an opportunity for them to show up for you, with you, so that you all can either spend time or they can get that hit that they need in order to feel responsible and capable. If they ignore all of that, in their mind, you're not the one for them. And it's not your job to make them see that you're the one for them. It's a misalignment, then babes, it's time to move on to someone else. All of that butterfly energy that you feel, all of the things that you like about them, all of the things that make you feel so good when they're around, this is where a lot of women start to ignore red flags. And babes, this is where you need to stop ignoring red flags. The second that they're not capable, the second that they don't show up, it's time to drop them. Now they're not going to hear from you at all. And if it takes you a while to get to that, because I know sometimes a lot of women that feel like they're good women or very helpful or healers, they feel cold-hearted when they do stuff like that. And this is where I have to say, God bless the United States of Aquarius, because baby, when it comes to that Aquarius energy, I have no problem with switching. And I need you not to have any problem with switching as well. Watch yourself. If you use anger or abrasive energy in order to lock in on boundaries or show up a certain way, that's where you have to start going within and you have to heal. You have to grow up a little bit in that area, because it shouldn't be all of that. It should just be, I see that this person is not willing, and I don't take it personal. I don't really care. I'm just realizing they're not in alignment with me. They're in a misalignment with me, and it's time for me to move on. And for our reflection questions, where am I confusing kindness with self-erasure? Do I believe being easy makes me more lovable? When was the last time I stood my ground and didn't explain myself? Oh my goodness. desperate dating is so weird to say for me because the way I saw myself in the past, I always saw myself as a person that wasn't desperate. I did what I wanted to do. I was an independent woman. Very much, I'll leave them back then too, right? But I did have this energy. So this one I lived because desperation doesn't always look frantic. Sometimes it can look helpful. When you first meet someone and you really like them, you feel really good. And I don't know how butterflies is like your nervous system warning you because the butterflies feel so good in the beginning. But when you get those butterflies, when you feel warm, when you feel good, you hope things will take off. You hope things will work out and you're willing to like maneuver and show up in a certain type of way when really you should be sitting in your queen energy. Have you ever heard about when people are done with dating and they're done with love, that's all of a sudden when they meet the person that they're meant to meet? And unless you've been there, you don't really know what that looks like. It's not about being bitter. It's not about hating men. It's not about like this abrasive energy. It's more so just a release. Just saying, you know what? I'm taking myself off the shelf. I'm not looking for anyone. If anyone approaches me, I'm not going for it. I'm just done with love. And I love for everyone else, but I'm done with it. And I've experienced that as well. And the second that I got into that energy, that's when I met the person that I was supposed to meet. But there were so many times before that instance where men shot their shot. And all the times men just kind of fell in my lap. I was never really looking for a man. I was never going to dating events or shooting my shot. I feel like I was a little bit too arrogant to shoot my shot. I was like, what do I look like trying to holler at a guy? But also there was a sneaky little thing in the back of my head as well, where I felt like if I shoot my shot with this guy, then I'm really responsible if I chose the wrong guy. How do I know who to shoot my shot at? Because I'm not surface level. So just because a man looks good doesn't mean I'm gonna shoot my shot at him. Matter of fact, usually when men look good, I tend to avoid them because I kind of feel like they've been in a situation where they're put up on this pedestal because one, they're a man, and two, they're attractive. And that's kind of rare nowadays. No shade, you know, to anyone, but I haven't seen like a really fine masculine man in a really long time. Typically, if I see a fine man now, I'm probably gonna assume he's gay. Again, no shade, but it's because everybody kind of seems gay now. Like everybody's gay, you know what I mean? And that's fine, you know, whatever floats your boat. But I always felt like I would choose the wrong person because I'm not able to see their personality. How do you shoot your shot at somebody and you don't know what they got going on the inside when that's what you care about, or you don't know what they have going on mentally? So I never really knew how to tell. So I never really wanted to shoot my shot. It wasn't necessarily that I was shy or I was nervous or I didn't have the confidence. I did, but I just kind of felt like if a guy is coming toward me, I'm able to kind of decipher his energy a little bit better. But even with that, I slipped into some couplings that I wouldn't prefer, right? And it was because of something else that I didn't know. And if you guys want to know, I can do another red flags for women and we can drop that in the next conversation because girl, it took me so long to figure that out, but now I pretty much got it, and it has something to do with charisma. So when I rewatch this, I remember what I was talking about, but that was the main reason. I didn't want to walk up to somebody and then they're saying something crazy, or I don't like their energy, or I don't know, their breath stinks, something crazy, right? And I didn't know how to get out of there because now I approached you, and I kind of feel like when you approach someone, it's almost like being a guest in someone else's house. You have to present some sort of gift, or you have to show some sort of courtesy, and you have to play their rules. That's just kind of how I compartmentalize that. I was never into giving away my power. There's one person I did approach, but the second I approached him, well, he was in my energy, he was in my area. But when I decided on him, I was like, you're my man. Whatever you got going on, that's over. You're mine. So I've done that. But as far as like flirting and all of this stuff, like, yeah, no, that's not my thing. Now, when it came to men approaching me, I was thinking to myself, oh, he's interested. So I also need to show that I'm interested. I need to add effort to this situation instead of stepping back and kind of seeing what they had to bring, really indulging and understanding what they had to offer. Now listen, I'm a lover girl. In my core, I'm a lover girl. I'm not all over the place. I'm not yearning for love. I have better things to do in my mind. Like, that's just really how I feel. But when love is the topic, I love love. It doesn't suffocate my whole life, right? I'm more of a business type of woman. I take care of business. I'm a mother, I'm a single woman. I have other things to take care of. Love is not top priority for me. I'm very much focused on self-development. I'm very much focused on my spiritual connection with the divine and figuring myself out and becoming more mature and, paying attention to my body and the changes that I'm going through as I get older. That's more important to me than every single turn I make or every step I take. I'm worried about a man like that. I just never had that energy, but I was a little bit more excited about it when I was younger. At the same time, being a lover's girl, being loyal, being faithful, all of the above, I'm still my daddy's daughter. So if I wanted to, I can outplay anyone at their game. And for a season, I found that very amusing. I really took it as a challenge, like, oh, you want to play with me, baby? Okay, let's play. I was just so ready. Definitely have that energy in me, even though I'm a lover girl. And I guess you can say that's my pendulum. That is my two polar opposites in that energy. Now that I've evolved and grown and stepped into my femininity and healed, I'm in another vibration now, but I'm very familiar with that vibration. It's just now where I am, it doesn't serve me to play that game. I would much rather avoid the nonsense or ensure that I'm no longer in the vicinity of that energy so that I can call in more. I'm more focused on aligning with my higher self because that past energy was feeding my ego. It felt good to go back and forth. It felt good to see who wins. But I'm not in a, you're an opponent, I'm gonna win this game, you can't outsmart me. That's taking up too much time and energy and focus. Now I'm in the, okay, this is my higher self, this is my journey. If I have a person, they will be on my path. I don't have to look for them because that ego aspect is still an attachment to outcome. And that shift that I just described came when I stopped entertaining interest altogether at that vibration. And it didn't make me feel cold or abrasive or shut off or closed off. It just felt natural. And this is an aspect I really wish I had a lot of help with. I've never had a mentor on my path. I had to figure all of this stuff out on my own. But as I transitioned through this path, I started to write in my journal. I started to log what I was experiencing and figure out exactly what I had going on. So in that, I was able to compile a lot of information and help myself navigate these practices so that I don't forget what I learned, so I won't repeat the same cycles. And in that, I started to realize what worked and what didn't work for me. I was able to recognize when I shifted my energy out of those repeating cycles, when I shifted out of my ego. And that's exactly how I structure my ebooks as well. If you all are interested, they're down below. You can definitely take a look at them. I know they will transform your life. So if you're ready for the real shift, definitely go down there and take a look at it. But once I did that shift and once I started to lead my life on my path and my journey, that's when I aligned to the next person that I was meant to experience. And when I went into that experience, I went in vulnerable, but still in my power, and my eyes were wide open. Even though I was swept off of my feet, I still didn't lose sight of the mission. Instead of thinking, how do I keep this? How do I protect this? How do I make sure that this is the person that I end up with forever? I asked, what am I supposed to learn here? What are his intentions? What are his wounds? How are we aligned? Because on the surface, we didn't necessarily seem like we went together. I was heavily into spirituality. He was heavily into worrying about money and status and how people see him. So it kind of seemed like we were not really the perfect match, but somehow we were definitely the perfect match for where we were when we started. As we transitioned throughout our journey and going through our growth, we started to move apart, but even within that, I was able to see what this was all about. I was hyper aware about the situation that I was in. So I gave myself permission from the start. I knew that this could be the man that I grow old with, or This could be the man that prepares me for the man that I will spend the rest of my life with. And I was confident about that because I had grown so much prior to that experience. And because I was so aware during the experience while I was in it, I never lost sight of what the divine was bringing this person into my life for. Those were the reasons why I knew either we're going to work out or this person is going to prepare me and set me in motion to align with the person that I'm supposed to be with next. Because we got to keep in mind, we are not here to meet one person in this lifetime forever. Some people, maybe, and some people who we see are in those long-term relationships, they could have decided with their free will to go against their life plan and their destiny and not meet any more soulmates. But for me, especially like being a Gemini rising, that just doesn't seem fun. As much as I used to yearn to want that person and find that one love of my life, I'm starting to realize actually, you can't force people to show up correctly. They have to have their own autonomy. You can't fully love someone unless you love the fact that they are truly who they are in their entirety. That's the only way you can have any type of vulnerability, because you have to be able to implement that for yourself first. So if someone is deciding with their free will to stay stagnant, then guess what? It's time for you to move forward, and you have to have the courage for that. The shift that I had in my belief system prior to meeting this person is what gave me the strength and the power, and I understood that freedom is what kept me powerful. When I understood it was time to walk away, even when it was abrasive and so hard to do, I trusted it and I still saw it through. I wasn't attached to holding on to a man. So how do we move forward in this energy? There should be no negotiation for respect. Once you've done some of the inner work, because the inner work is going to last forever, okay? But once you've done enough where you don't compromise your self-love, your self-respect, your dignity, you will know what thrives in your life and what doesn't. And you'll know with certain things in your life whether you thrive or not. Being in desperate energy will always put you in a losing position. Before you even found anyone worthwhile keeping in your life, you will already start off in a losing position because you put yourself under another person. Detach from outcomes, babe. If this person is good for you on your journey and your path, then they will be able to grow with you on your journey and path. If they're not, then you have to have enough courage, dignity, and self-love, strength, reliance to be able to leave. So we're not detaching from love. We're not giving up on love. We're just detaching from outcome. This person does not have to be your husband. Just because you all have chemistry and you hit it off does not mean that you're automatically thinking wedding bells, babies, house, business partner. Slow your roll, babes. Calm down. You can feel all of those good things. And that's why I said in the beginning, I was open, I was vulnerable, I was deeply in love, and I was aware. You have to slow things down. You have to start reflecting. You have to start seeing how you show up. You have to start noticing how they respond. And you have to start realizing this person is calling into the energy that you're currently in. But this energy that you're currently in may not be your end all be all energy. You're going to grow. And are they able to have capacity to allow you to expand and grow without trying to hold you back or demean you? Because typically that's what people do when they're comfortable. They want things to stay the same, and that doesn't make them a villain, but it does help you realize this person is not going to allow you to see or fulfill your destiny. Is your soul okay with that? And you start thinking of things bigger than just you thinking you're a small human and these small little things that you experience in your life is all you're going to experience in your life. When you start expanding and thinking about, if God was my father, would God feel joy for me feeling the burden and the pain of choosing this small position? Because you know when it's small, you know when you're not happy. If God loves us and loves to see us enjoy and happy and giving us more blessings when we find that, can we say that sitting in this position is really serving us? And you don't have to hate the person in order to leave the person. You can leave the person for the better good of self, for self-respect, for self-love, for nurturing self, to prove to your inner child that you love you and you're going to do everything you need to do for you to ensure that you end up where you need to be. And for our reflection questions, am I dating to align or to secure? Would I still want this person if I wasn't afraid of being alone? Do I believe love is something I have to chase? I feel like this one is a little bit more sneaky, especially when you get into serious relationships. You end up moving in with people, you get married, you have a long time partner, or maybe you have children with someone and it's a pretty serious situation. It's so subtle, that's why it's sneaky. If someone doesn't value a part of you, but they get mad if you stop doing it, not only is it manipulation, that's also misalignment. Now, every time I say something, I always feel like someone is thinking, oh, I'm about to cut everybody off. If that's something that divine has been telling you to do thus far, then absolutely go through with the process. This is just confirmation. But if you're not already in that energy, take a chill pill, baby, okay? This doesn't mean cut everybody off if you haven't already been getting nudges to cut everybody off. It just means pay attention, especially to your anxiety. Make sure you start paying attention to energy shift. This actually reminds me, I remember seeing a clip of Shira 7 a long time ago, and she was saying, don't ever cook for a man. And I thought to myself, how am I gonna go through life not cooking for a man when I cook for myself? Like, he's there. What am I just gonna be an a-hole and cook for myself and not cook for him? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna make enough for everyone to enjoy, and I just couldn't fathom how that would work. But I also didn't know how to implement that, what that would look like for me in my heart space, being in that super overly empath energy, right? I guess you can say I ignored that advice because I didn't really know how to place the advice. I didn't know what to do with that information. Even though I could see where she was coming from, I understood what she was saying. She didn't have to go too far into saying what she said. I still didn't know how to implement it. Now, there's nothing like lived experience. Lived experience will harden your boundaries. It will create some boundaries as well. It came a time where the man that I was with tasted another woman's food, and he lit up in a way I have never, ever, ever seen him light up, ever. Even after that process, I've never seen him light up like that. I'm a food connoisseur. Actually, even thinking about it, my mouth is watering because I want to taste some really good food. The type of excitement that this man had, I'm over there thinking like, okay, this must be really, really good, right? I go to taste the food, bland. So now I'm confused. I don't know if I'm pissed off because he sent me off and the food actually wasn't hitting on anything at all whatsoever, or whether I was pissed off that he was glazing this girl like she was Chef Boyardee, like she was Gordon Ramsay. I was just like, you can't be serious right now. Honestly, if we're gonna be honest, coming closer, I think I was more pissed off that the food wasn't good. And he had me excited with high expectations that the food was gonna be good. And it did not have any flavor to me. It didn't have any flavor to me at all. Now, if you're on the other side of this and you're like, girl, he liked her, we clock it. We're on the same page, but that doesn't matter. And I know it's crazy to say, right? Like, what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's fine. He can like her, whatever. The problem was I'd been cooking so much because now there's a conjoined household. Now there's multiple people in the household. I was basically slaving, trying to figure out how to cook for portions of more than 2 people. That's not something I'm accustomed to. That's not something I'm used to. I've always grown up in a small household. So I've never known the ratio of some of the dishes that I've cooked. And I've even started to cook different meals that I never cooked before. I was finding recipes. I really like to eat good food, and I like to be the person that pours the love and effort into the food that I make. But I don't like cooking if I have to. And being in that dynamic, I naturally fell into this place where I was the person that was always cooking because he didn't know how to cook. Even though he was offsetting some of the workload by purchasing food here and there, or he'll come home with food. Usually, I was so stressed out with cooking more than I was normally used to cooking, because now that there's more people, there's not a lot of leftovers. And I was exhausted, especially when I'm trying to work on myself. I'm trying to build myself. I'm trying to, get my life in place where I'm good on my own and in the relationship, right? To see him light up over that bland food, knowing all of the time and the effort and the energy I was putting into cooking, baby, Nothing motivated me more than to stop cooking. There's nothing like someone giving somebody else praise for half-ass effort in a good sob story when you know you've been breaking your back doing something and they never saw the value in you doing it. Baby, you don't have to tell me twice. That energetic slap changed everything, especially since I'd already had the advice not to cook for a man. So when I pulled back and I decided to not cook, it wasn't a harsh halt. I slowly but surely stopped doing it. I either didn't want to or I wasn't feeling good. I was actually being honest about not feeling good enough to cook or being extremely tired. There were times I'd be extremely tired and I cooked, and I promise that man never lit up. Ever, 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 ever. To add insult to injury, the type of food that this girl cooked is the type of food that my family owns restaurants in. So I know good food when I taste it. Do you see what I'm saying? But I wasn't dramatic. I just started withdrawing the labor. And guess what? He started providing the food more. Like I said before, he couldn't even cook. So to not be gracious and grateful, that said a lot. I have seen women talk about on the internet how when they cook for their husband, even if the food is burnt, even if it's nasty, like he'll still eat it or he'll still tell her how good it is. I get the nuance of that. I'm such a sentimental person, right? I don't want people to fake that they like something that I'm doing. I don't want them to feel obligated or bullied into making me feel good about something. I want someone who naturally values who I am. They naturally are excited anytime I do anything, even if it's nothing, even if it's like a little thing. I want them to be ecstatic. And to see a person that I align to give that to another person and never ever gave it to me, I was like, huh. This is an interesting feeling. I've never been in triangulation like that, especially when it's a person that I'm with. The interesting thing about it was this person is not the type of person that I would have chose had I not been divinely guided by spirit. And with everything that happened, I can see why I wouldn't have chose that person. But once I saw the wrap up of everything, I saw why that relationship absolutely needed to happen. So it goes back to relationships being a portal to help you assist and catapult yourself on your journey, to help you see yourself better. It's very beneficial for you when it's ordained. Humans tend to want to make things theirs. So when it comes to this twin flame situation or finding your soulmate could be a karmic. You know what I mean? You don't know what type of soulmate you're getting, right? It could be intense and you want to stay in it and stay forever. Hear me out. That situation taught me so much about myself, and I've never been in a lot of those situations. So now I have a newfound respect for myself because I handled so many situations with grace, and I realized, oh, this is what people call jealousy, but I'm not jealous about that situation. I just know that this situation is wrong, and my intuition, my nervous system, my brain, everything is all in alignment with that. Take note to that, Ra. What micro red flag led to this? So it even helped me sharpen my boundaries a lot more because now, since I've been there, I know where it could possibly lead to, and I know it's gonna put me in an energy I don't desire to be in. It's gonna bring me into an experience I don't desire to experience. So now I'm more fine-tuned to certain behaviors because I've seen how they play out. So instead of having this anger and this frustration and this heavy energy, I was still able to maintain my heart space, but also move with precision. So after pulling back, after coming up on some gems on red flags and seeing how I operate and noticing how I got there, I was able to say, okay, I see how everything plays out, and I was able to escape that relationship. So what that moment taught me, when someone shows you what they value, believe them. And stop performing for validation. I don't necessarily feel like I was performing for validation, but we're just gonna chalk it up and say that in some retrospect, I probably was, because I wanted to figure out what food was gonna hit his palate that also hit my palate as well, right? I was being extremely compromising. I was being extremely compassionate. Your person is not able to meet you if you're not able to express how you truly feel about things. And honestly, the more honest you are, the easier it is to understand that a person may not be for you. But sometimes people get caught up in being selfish and trying to change someone because they know that they're a good person. They know that they're a good catch. They know that they could be a good wife or husband. They end up imprisoning this person and like kind of beating them down without knowing it. The most selfless thing you can do is release a person knowing that they're a good person, but also knowing that they're not your person. That's the most responsible, adult, mature thing, respectable thing you can do. And so many people are selfish and are holding on to good people and holding them hostage, knowing that this person may not be their cup of tea, but because they're a good catch, they're gonna hold on to them and they're gonna mold them and build them into the person that they really want, when they can really just let that person go. You will have a lot more respect if you let people like that go. But the masses, because a lot of people haven't experienced a true relationship, they don't respect that. They'll talk crap about you and say, oh, look at you. Why would you let a good man go? You know how hard they are to come by. Your man is on your path though. That man was probably there to show you some things and help you realize aspects of yourself. And maybe they were a good catch, or maybe they were just a good catch on surface and a bad catch behind closed doors, whatever. At the end of the day, that wasn't your man. And sometimes when you do find a soulmate that is your partner and you can grow and evolve with them, if they're not willing to reach a certain point, then guess what? They have now turned into a man that's not your man, or a woman that's not your woman. Let it go. Trust me, the quicker you let go of things and you give room to what's new and what's on your path, what's going to meet you on your actual journey, you don't have to venture off to go find them. They're going to meet you exactly where you're at. The better. Let them people go. That's not your person. All right. So how do we move forward? Do not overextend. If something is not valued, pull back. And if you find yourself starting something and now you see it's being taken for granted, don't double down on doing it more. Don't think if you figure out what they really like, or maybe they like it just like this, or maybe I'm not doing it just right. Don't double down and try to figure it out. You just need to recalibrate and pull your energy back. And if you continue to do something out of fear that they might leave, then babes, you probably need to leave that situation. It's time for you to get yourself in position to ensure that you take care of everything that you need to take care of, because 9 times out of 10, it doesn't matter how good or how perfect you show up, that person is still gonna leave you for something else because they think that there's something else better out there. And the second that something glistens, whether it's a foil, whether it's a piece of glass, they're gonna drop you where you are and go run and pick up that thing. Do not allow them to run back to you, because they're just taking you on a ride until they find the thing that they really want, until they realize that nothing else wants them, because they're not even worth a damn, for real. Let's be honest. You know, no shade, but they're not worth a damn. And the only person that's willing to lower themselves to stay with that person is you. Have some self-respect and leave. One last piece to this. Another thing that leaves you stuck in this cycle that's your biggest red flag is feeling like you need to be needed. That aspect of feeling like you need to be needed and translating that into love is your biggest red flag, okay? That's what leaves you stuck in these cycles. That's what connects you in charisma with certain type of men, because you call in the broken, you call in the needy, you call in the ones that want a mommy, and you feel good when they actually appreciate all that you do, right? They love it, they love everything about you, but really what you're telling them is they're worth all of that. It's not really about you. It's not, oh, she's such a great woman and she's such a great person. They're going to tell you that so that you can continue to do it. This is when you're in that lower vibration of dealing with manipulators and energy vampires. They're going to say that. They're going to act like they love it because they love the attention they're getting. They don't necessarily love you. Getting off on feeling needed and pouring into people in that energy, that is always going to F you over. You're not going to be able to stand up. You're not going to be able to find your footing in what takes you out of these red flags until you let go of that. You're always going to get the man child because you feel good being a mother. You feel good mothering. But after a while, you get sick of him because he's going to start showing the layers of that wounded child. Babes, you put yourself in that position, and it's time to unravel that position and realize you don't need to be a mother. You don't need to provide that type of nurture in order to be valued, in order to be a partner to someone, a wife and a husband dynamic, not a mother and child dynamic with this weird enmeshment. You would have to stand up and realize that you're whole and show up as whole in order to call someone who's also whole and showing up as whole. Now, for our reflection question, where am I overgiving to feel secure? Do I continue things even when they're not appreciated? Am I afraid of who I'd be without being needed? This one is big, and I'd honestly say it doesn't really matter how early or late you merge, but sometimes merging too early, it's not what it's all cracked up to be. You're moving too fast, and you know you're moving too fast when you want to consolidate everything. You drop your apartment. You might be blending finances, giving wifey privileges without commitment. You start giving up leverage before any trust is built. And to be honest, if we really want to say it clear and straight, you're confusing proximity with security. And then all of a sudden, when you fast forward, when everything falls apart, you're the one that has to restart. Have you ever been in a situation where you find out once you leave a person, they stole your whole personality? They're bagging people off your whole personality. They're stunning and showing off their house when you decorated it. When you're with the one that suggested certain things going to a certain place, when you're the one that suggested these plants or this design or whatever, they keep all of that stuff, right? And then you're left starting all over or going back to what you had before. I would much rather have something to go back to than having to start all over from scratch. People were kind of surprised when they found out that I kept my apartment. Yeah, I'm gonna keep my apartment. Because I was seeing red flags. Just because I stayed doesn't mean I didn't notice the red flags and I didn't have a plan in place to get up out of that. Once I saw that that situation is not for me, once I saw that that situation was not gonna get any better, I understood you better not let your stuff go. You better not let this person know that's your backup. This is why you have to heal. This is why you have to have a clear, strong relationship with the divine. Because I understood there was a part of my spirit that wanted to know what it was like to live with a person. Because I knew eventually, somewhere down the line, I was going to live with a person. If I get married, we're gonna live together, whatever. Before we decide to have separate rooms or separate houses, whatever we decide to do, there might be a situation where I live with that person, and I never lived with anyone else. Ever since I moved out of my mother's house, I've always lived on my own. I wanted that experience to see and understand what that was about, what that was like, because I never had that experience before. And you can watch someone all day, but you'll never understand what it's like for you to live with a person. Especially when I'm on social media and I'm seeing people talk about how women are getting on the internet talking about they hate their husbands, da da da. I understand. At the same time, I understand that if you never lived with a man, you don't understand, okay? They can be great in one area and completely suck in like 20 other areas when it comes to living with them. And you don't know how to navigate that. You don't know how to stay in a high vibrational energy. You don't know how to stay in your feminine energy. You don't know how to be a well-balanced human being dealing with this person, living in close proximity to them. And you also don't know why certain relationships fail after so long, why they lose their spark. Living with a person, I now know when I'm with a healthier person, when I'm with a better aligned person, I know exactly how to ensure how that spark won't leave. Especially when you choose a person who's willing to put in the work with you, who's willing to uphold the foundation and the standard of the relationship with you. You're not doing all of the emotional labor on your own. People are talking about the house labor and the chore labor. That emotional labor in order to keep a relationship healthy is so important, but it's almost invisible. You don't notice it. You think when you're in love and everything is good and they're doing things for you and you're doing things for them, you don't need to do anything for upkeep, but you absolutely do. That is the most important thing that you can do, is keep up the foundation of the relationship so that it can thrive and continue its momentum. Discernment requires space, and time absolutely reveals character. If you merge too early, you'll absolutely blur your own vision. Now, sometimes women will end up merging with a man because he presents an idea, or he might suggest something, or he might hint to something where it's cheaper and better to split the bills than it is for you to pay all the bills on your own in your own place. I'm here to tell you that's a scam. It does not benefit you as a woman to do quote unquote 50-50 with a man. He would have to be the one paying all the bills in order for you to see any benefit. If you are already in that giving energy, if you naturally have to have your space clean, you're not really willing to sit there and let the house be a mess until he realizes it and he gets to it. So you're naturally going to be the cleaner. You're naturally going to be the cooker. You might end up falling into a scenario that I fell into. Knowing that, it doesn't benefit you splitting anything half and half financially when it comes to men, because a lot of men are an emotional burden, they're a mental burden, they're a health burden, they're a proximity burden. Because if you think about it, if this person does not hold themselves accountable, if they don't hold themselves to a standard, if they aren't faithful, if they don't know how to mentally handle themselves, if they can't handle challenges, if they're not able to deal with stress, you will find yourself embarrassed being attached to this person because they are a part of your resume. Remember, you lose a lot more connecting yourself to a person who doesn't see the value in holding themselves accountable and assuring that they do the proper growth they need. A lot of these people are just trying to look for someone to attach themselves to make their life easier. And they position it to you in a way that makes it seem like it benefits you as well. The only way it benefits a woman is if he takes on 100% of the bills. And even then, they will still try to weaponize finances. They will still try to weaponize the position of the location. So always make sure you have not one, not two, but 3 or 4 backup plans if you decide to go on this journey and try to navigate, maybe see what the experience is like, right? You always want to be able to be in a position that you aren't going to be in a really messed up position if you ever have to leave. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're convincing yourself to stay because you got to get yourself together, or you got to stay because you guys just signed the lease on this, or just bought another car, something conjoined that's going to last years. If you are not married, if you don't have stake or claim to have share in whatever you're financially investing in, it does not make sense for you to do it. How to move forward from this? In an ideal world, I would say to keep your independence until trust is proven. But I think it's better to say to always keep your independence and just don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. They don't need to know that you have your independence, but you need to ensure that you do. And what they don't know will actually help you see them clearer and better. If they think you're relying on them 100%, if they think you don't have anywhere else to go, if they think you don't have any extra funds to get your own place and be set up like nothing ever happened, it's easier to spot manipulators and abusers when they think you have nothing else to fall on, when they think you need someone's help in order to get yourself together, and they think you don't have any help. So it's actually better to not let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. That is the best procedure. Now, when men come in and they see you, you have your own stuff, they might convince you to sell, they might convince you to trust them. Listen. You always need to make sure you're straight no matter what. That person can pass away. Even if they're a good man, that person can pass away and you all don't have anything in place. Things happen suddenly. People are expecting that they will live the next day. They're guaranteed another 15, 20, 50 years. You're not. You have no idea. You don't know if their health will decline. There are so many reasons why you need to make sure that you are always straight and set. Beyond cheating, beyond a red flag, beyond him secretly being an abuser or a narcissist or a sociopath or whatever. It doesn't matter. You should always be in a situation where you don't have to hit rock bottom. You can either pick up where you left off, or you're even better off than when you left. So just keep that in mind. Don't let people get in your head and start selling you these dreams because they're just dreams. You don't know the capacity of this person and what are they willing to bet? What are they willing to put on the line to ensure you are comfortable and secure? Are they willing to give you a $10,000 stipend to move in? This is just in case we break up, just in case anything's happened. I want to make sure you're straight. I I don't think so. There's gonna be a lot of people fighting about this comment, fighting about that statement. And when people are fighting against something that should be helping you, okay, and you're upfront and you're honest about it, that just tells you their position. Recently, a man left a comment on one of my videos and he asked, what advice do I have for women that will benefit the kids, the man, and her so that there's a loving environment, something along those lines. And my response was, any information I give to women is rooted in self-respect that benefits everyone. Because guess what? If you respect yourself, you teach your kids self-respect. If you respect yourself, you teach your partner self-respect. Everyone will benefit from observing you. So if a person wants to put their best foot forward and prove that they deserve the trust, then you can rest easy a little bit knowing that you will always have something to get yourself out of the jam. I've never felt comfortable with no backup plan when dealing with men, ever. They're too wishy-washy. They say, we're emotional? Oh my God, have you ever dealt with one? Their logic is more emotional than anything else because they're always looking for a way to win. Right? Meanwhile, women are always finding ways to self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice will not be respected amongst anyone. I haven't seen anyone who self-sacrificed outside of a movie where people actually respected them, remember them, and continue to talk about them. This whole nation idolizes people who've done heinous crimes, okay? They have quickly erased people out of history who've self-sacrificed. Babes, always make sure you're good. Don't ever blindly believe anyone. Don't ever believe in the first couple of months, in the first couple of years that someone will always have your back. If you want to believe that, cool. I'm just letting you know. It's best to believe it after they prove it, especially when you know you have something to protect yourself and fall on of your own. A lot of people, they want to get married and they want to do a lot of things not understanding what marriage encompasses, especially when it comes to the law. But you will be surprised how many women get the crappy end of the stick, okay? We hear a lot of things because men are louder and they spew a lot of information more than women. Women typically take the back seat. Women typically pick up from an abusive relationship and run. They don't out the abuser because typically, guess what? No one believes us. Why would you use your energy? Why would you waste your time talking about this person as an abuser? Why would you waste your time talking about all of the heinous crimes this person has done to you? Why would you waste your time talking about how this person treated you and how they admitted that they were wrong and they admitted that they're a bad person just for them to get with a woman who's a pick-me, who just wants your position, who's excited and ecstatic to be with this man? She's not gonna believe you. Helping her is helping who? Even if she approaches you and comes to you and asks you, even if somebody came to me, I still wouldn't say nothing. Especially if you're coming right after me. If I left, you saw some stuff and you just wanted to benefit off of what I was getting at that point. That's how I see it. Especially if you knew about me or you saw me or whatever, proximity to me, whatever. I just gotta be honest. With my standards and my boundaries, if I left that person, 9 times out of 10 wasn't a good one. If I spent years with a person, years trying to build something with a person, and I left, that's not a good person. Typically, if I leave someone just because they're not a good fit, it's gonna be in the early stages. We're not gonna get to year 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not gonna get there. If we're getting there, it's because I'm trying to work through it. And if I can't work through it, it's not me. It's not me. Because I'm even the type of person to tell somebody, if I know that I'm not good for a person, I will tell that person to leave me because they deserve more. I would much rather be with a person who was willing to tell me like, look, I don't think you should be with me. I'm not a good fit for you. I see this for you. I'm not able to keep up with what I know you deserve. I would respect that person so much more than a person trying to play with me and use me and get as much energy as they can out of me before they suck me dry, toss me to the wayside and go to the next person. If all of that is happening, my behavior should have been your sign. Anytime you see a woman who's a stand-up woman, whatever she says, she honors her word. She's impeccable with her word. She doesn't play around. She doesn't play games. She's not manipulative, whatever. And she leaves a man, and you saw everything he did for her, that's not the person he is. He was just trying to be the person that that woman wanted to get her to stay. But if you're not that type of woman to hold those type of boundaries, if you're not that type of woman to expect those things, you're gonna get a whole different type of man. And that's even something that I've learned for myself, and this is just off script real quick. This is why I will never ever try to watch women in a relationship and try to follow them until they break up and try to move on her man. Because you have no idea what was going on in that relationship, and you don't even know if you're capable, if you have the energy, if you have the know-how to deal with that type of man, to even get what that woman was getting. You won't even probably get the respect that that woman was getting because she was not playing. She kept her foot on his neck. But because you want to be all lovey-dovey girl and get bare minimum, not be confrontational and not speak up and be quiet and be all of the things that you think he wants and you think people marry, you're going to get a very crappy end of the stick. Promises don't mean nothing. Actually, I prefer a person that isn't going to sit here and promise me anything. Just do it. Just do it. If you want me to believe you, do it and be consistent. Just show that character across the board. Promises don't mean nothing. Words don't mean nothing. Actions mean a lot more. And even actions, I'm still watching. I'm watching for other things as well. So let that man show consistency over time all across the board. And for our reflection questions, have I ever merged before I was certain? Did I give up something stable for something emotional? What does patience look like in practice for me? This one is the last one because I always say the best for last, and this is the one that I probably see the most dealing with women personally, reading comments, interacting with people, watching people from afar. This is something that I see the most. This is something that people don't tell you they're doing, or they'll give you advice based on their structure, and it typically will bite you in the butt. Relying solely on scripts, questions, and dating tactics. Trying to outsmart manipulation. I'm gonna let you know right now, everyone can manipulate, and some people are way better at it than others. If you haven't experienced every single person in the world, you're not gonna be able to see or know every single type of manipulation tactic. Getting in tune with your discernment is incredibly important. And if you really think about it, people don't like to be tested. So playing these games and doing all of this stuff, the second that someone sniffs it out, you're probably not going to get the authentic version of them because it's pissing them off. You're playing this game or you're putting them to the test. No one likes to be toyed with. So while someone could start off having the best intentions to be with you and the best intentions to move forward with you, once they start seeing that you're moving kind of funny, and to you, you're just trying to protect yourself, right? But to them, it's reading as you're moving funny. You're holding something back. You're not being full front and honest. And sometimes if you meet people where they are and you just lay it out on the table like, hey, I'm wondering about this, what's going on here, or what happened with that situation, just being an adult about it all. And if you don't want to do that, because a lot of people do those things in order to rush the process so that they can hurry up and say that they have their person and they get married and have kids and they're happy ever after. And remember, relationships are not about that. If you think about it in this manner, whether it's true or not, it's gonna help you shift your belief system. These people come down with soul contracts, all of us. I'm gonna show up this way to help you achieve this goal. And I'm gonna show up this way to help you achieve that goal. Mind you, we all forget what we came here for. So we don't even know the goals we're trying to reach. We don't even know what we wanted to experience. We don't know what we wanted to master. We have no idea. We forgot. We even forgot that we made any type of pact with these people. So when you try to hold on to somebody that was just a season, just here for a season to help you navigate something or help you realize something about yourself or help you learn self-love or feel loved or feel nurtured because you feel like you've never felt it or you never had it in your life, you feel like you need to hold on to that. But they have other things that they promise to other people and other people promise to them. Everybody has a road they're traveling on. So getting in tune with yourself is going to help you navigate these spaces and know when to let go and when not to let go. It's just like Mercury retrograde, and just in time. We're getting a Mercury retrograde very soon, okay? When people are always saying, oh my gosh, my ex came back. What does that mean? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to show up? And you're taking other people's advice and you're just implementing the advice. You're never actually learning the lesson on a soul level. So you're going to keep having these cycles that pop up in different areas and it's outside of Mercury retrograde, but you don't understand why you can't break out of this cycle. You can't break out of this cycle because you never learned the lesson. You're just acting a certain type of way. You're showing up a certain type of way, but you haven't embodied the lesson. The moment that you realize like, hey, I have no desire to speak to this person, and it's not hate, there's no malice, I just don't care that they called me. I don't care to reach out. I don't care to hear what they have to say. Then you've graduated because it's internal. You embodied it. You're grounded in that decision. It's not an indecision period and let me see if I'm going to show up for myself this time or that time. You understand this person didn't value what you had going on, or they're no longer in alignment with you, where you're going. You're not interested. Mercury retrograde is here to show us where we are in our lessons, and either you learned it or you didn't. And if you didn't learn it, you're gonna learn it. There's gonna be another situation that pops up. So remember that. So discernment isn't about asking the right questions or showing up in the right energy on a surface level. It's about knowing yourself. When your nervous system is healed, you don't panic. There is no confusion. You find yourself in an observation state. You do a lot more observation than you do talking and action and indecision. And you don't rush through anything. You feel comfortable sitting in your own energy, taking your time to really see how things unfold. You'll notice you'll feel relief and not the butterflies that everyone is excited about all the time. And that relief is clarity. If you feel like you're overthinking, if you experience indecision, if you are blocked or you feel tense, that's not relief, clearly. And there's something that you have to face. There's something that needs to be looked at and taken care of. But don't beat yourself up when you're in that energy. Just know, okay, there's something that I missed. What did I miss? Go into that deeper reflection. So how do you move forward in this? You have to heal your nervous system. You have to get used to sitting in silence. It's so important. Meditation, yoga, prayer even. Not having any distractions. If you need to, babes, when it gets warmer, it's warmer here in Chicago, but when it gets warmer wherever you are, go to your circuit breaker and turn off all the electricity. Leave the refrigerator on, but turn everything else off. No lights, no phone, no nothing. Do that for 24 hours and sit with yourself. You probably won't even make it past hour 1. Make it so you can't clean, you can't do anything. When the sun goes down, you gotta go to sleep. Regulate your health, regulate your sleep patterns. Really connect with oneness. Connect with self. Connect with where you are and what you're thinking and how you're feeling and what's going on, and sit in that. Get comfortable there. That's where you'll realize you don't need to perform. You don't need to test. You just need to observe. Practice observing. Learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and figure out how to navigate your way out of that. And the more practice you have with that alone, the better you operate when you're in partnership, when you're in business meetings, when you're in any situation dealing with another person. You'll understand what groundedness feels like for you, and you'll know how to get there no matter what situations you're in. And I also want to point out, when you spend a lot of time asking questions, because I even have my own questions, and I don't know if I would still use these questions or not. I actually forgot about them. After this transition that I've gone through, I realized how strong I've come out and how in tuned I am. I pick up on everyone so clearly now. It's almost like I can see the numbers in the matrix. Like I can see everything that's happening clearly. But just think about it like this. When you're asking people questions and you're trying to see if they're lying, you're trying to see how they go about certain things, and you're counting their blink per minute or whatever, just keep in mind, you're outsourcing all of your energy to them. When in all actuality, if you sit in your energy and they're coming to you and they're showing you and they're trying to prove things to you, you will find the slip-ups. You really don't even need to ask any questions. You can really just simply observe them and just see how they move. Before you open your mouth, people are already telling you something about themselves. And this works for friendships, this works for coworkers, this works for parents, this works for romantic relationships. Anything you have going on, you will see exactly what's happening. And I didn't realize how hyper-focused I was. Once I healed my nervous system had to be broken for me to heal it. And my nervous system had to be broke in order for me to have a hyper-vigilance on the awareness that I have. I'm even grateful for experiencing someone shattering my nervous system, because now I'm picking up on things I was oblivious to before. It took me some time to see these things before. You know what? I want to bring up that thing I wanted to bring up earlier. So I know I'm going to put it in the next video, you guys. I know I'm going to put it in the next conversation for sure, because it's so important. The whole video might just be about that. We'll see if I have enough information to compile, to put in there, because I don't want it to be fluff. I really want us to get into it. I have been able to notice so much about people, and I'm able to see where I ignored certain red flags in relation to this, because I was like, oh, well, they're still a good person. Cool. They can be a good person in certain aspects, but there's something else that's deeper that I'm ignoring that I need to pay attention to, and I need to realize we're not aligned. I need to see where divine is coming in between it and trying to cut these things off. That's why certain things aren't going through. Healing that nervous system, that is one of the most beneficial things you could do for yourself, for real. Because then you'll be comfortable with sitting in self, and you'll be comfortable holding that balanced line and being grounded enough for people to show you exactly who they are without you trying to outsource your energy and collect information from them. You don't need to do that. You don't need to be manipulative. You don't need to do any of that stuff. All you got to do is just sit and observe. And for our reflection questions, do I trust tactics more than my intuition? Do I mistake anxiety for chemistry? Can I sit back and observe without interfering? You may have been feeling like you've been doing everything wrong, and you may feel that you're stupid, but you're not stupid. You're not stupid. You just don't know. You haven't been able to figure it out yet because it's so challenging to figure it out when you're in it. When you're in the ocean, you can't really see the ocean versus when you're in the plane. When you're in the plane, you can see how vast that ocean is, right? So we got to evolve. We got to elevate. We got to grow out of being in it to being able to see it from a different perspective. It's still an ocean, but if you can see how vast it is, if you can see what's going on, if you can see the seaweed, then you understand what's coming. You understand how to navigate the process. And it's not through trying to predict everything that everyone else has going on. You may end up meeting thousands of people in your lifetime, but you're only one person. It's easier to navigate you more so than trying to figure out everyone else. Once you figure yourself out, everybody else is a piece of cake. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's wisdom that no one can ever take away from you. Once you respect yourself, you won't tolerate anyone draining your energy. And I just want to remind you, it's okay for it to swing. You will absolutely find your balance in between. And when you do, your presence alone will filter out a lot of the nonsense. I hope the information that I shared with you helped. If it did, feel free to share it with someone you love, someone you think is going to benefit from the information. Thank you so much for sharing your time and energy with me. I really appreciate you making the decision to click on this conversation. And if you have anything to add, please drop it down in the comments below. If you have any questions, if you want me to talk about something else, if you want to just say, hey, whatever's on your mind, please definitely go ahead and share with me. I love responding back to you guys. But you already know what time it is. That's my time. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, and a little bit of spice. Mwah.